morning, family, and welcome to another episode of Jedi Learning with Baba Kentu. Now, today's topic of discussion is leadership. Leadership can be very tricky, but is extremely important for any people or any person to move forward. Leadership doesn't only mean that you can control the affairs of many, but also means that you can control the affairs of yourself, first and foremost. But when you are a leader and you do control the affairs of many, you must conduct your work so that your conduct must be blameless. No one can look at you and say, he didn't put forth his best effort. She didn't put forth her best effort. She didn't attempt to do what was right, even in the face of adversity and danger. That's the type of person who is a leader. That person will also stand and take the bullets or the attacks for the rest of the group and take responsibility, even if they weren't directly responsible for an interaction. That's leadership. We have leaders now that we call leaders, but they are not actually leaders in action. They are only leaders in name. So they have been given these titles by other people who tell us that this person should be leading you or that person should be leading you, but we don't gravitate towards people because of their behavior for leadership anymore. And that's a big no-no. Leaders have to demonstrate the moral characteristics, the leadership skills, the leadership qualities and abilities. Leadership is even part of an overall social emotional assessment just in a person's everyday life. It doesn't have to be, like I said, over the affairs of many. Now, those who are leaders, if they create the transgression of laws, they open a way to violence. This could have been seen a couple of Mondays ago when during Martin Luther King's holiday celebration, we also had a gun rights celebration. Now, that can be directly correlated to what's going on in the leadership in the country, if people know how to look at it. But these are the types of things that you do when you are a transgressor of laws. This person, Donald J. Trump, is also being impeached at this moment as we discuss leadership. So there's no way we can say that he has been blameless. And I will say, there are people and leaders all over the countries, all over the world, who do engage in similar acts to Mr. Trump's and who do not get brought up on charges. But I will say this, because his conduct in the past and his history has not been blameless, we look at him and say, you don't get the benefit of the doubt. And this is what we mean by leadership. Had he been on point the entire time, it may not have been a situation where people looked at him and said, you're automatically guilty, and he may have never been tried in the first place. Other folks in leadership positions recently, Cory Booker had to drop out of the race for candidacy, at least for the Democratic presidency or the Democratic nomination. He attempted to say that he had to drop out because he couldn't get financial support. Now, we have to look at Cory Booker's behavior as well and say, well, you have cozied up to Wall Street, yet you tout yourself as somebody who lives in the hood amongst those who do not have much. But you'll become a millionaire off the tech industry and some of your startup investments based on your relationships with those people. So we all look at it in your behavior as a farce. You cannot engage with those people, not build in the neighborhood and only live there so you can say that you live there. So because he didn't get the support, he also had to drop out because of his lack of leadership. Remember, greed is what takes over many leaders. And greed can take you over your heart. And it may obtain riches, but it never lands its wares upon the shores. So you can do things to be basic and get all the financial and material wealth that you can muster, but those things will never lead to any type of leadership in the true sense of way, in the true sense of the word. We saw two great leaders, one, Martin Luther King Jr., who we celebrated his birthday a couple of weeks ago. Great leader. He gave the ultimate sacrifice, which is his life, to demonstrate his leadership capabilities. Spoke the truth, sang truth to power, moved people, went to jail, caught rocks to the head. These are all things that demonstrate that he was balanced, that he had reciprocity with the people, that he wanted truth, that he wanted justice. Also, and LA is still reeling from this, but the leadership capabilities of Kobe Bryant. He demonstrated that he would go into the face of adversity, and that whenever the game was on the line, he had no problem throwing the team on his back and either accepting responsibility for the loss or accepting responsibility for the win, because that is what a leader does. He puts everything on his back. She puts everything on her back and says, I am now responsible for righting this ship. So we know that the transgressor of laws goes unpunished, or it never goes unpunished, but the greedy person overlooks this. But when you have two great leaders to look up to who have been immortalized, who are now angels watching over us, who are now nature, who are now Orisha, who are now Loa and Kobe Bryant, and our good friend Martin Luther King Jr., we see and have great examples of what true leadership is. So this has been an example and some words of wisdom on what leadership is and some examples of leadership. And if you and I and everybody else can take these words to heart and actually implement them, we will have no problem with leadership in the future. This has been your host, Bobby Kenwoud, with another episode of Jedi Learning and another wisdom lesson. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.